Hello and welcome to this episode of Nerd Bytes. This episode is a follow-up to a previous episode talking about what is aptX and why it's important. Today we're talking about how is aptX calculated and what is the right threshold for you to set. As a quick reminder, aptX is a measure of user satisfaction. It's made up of transaction response times and transaction errors, and it impacts how many transaction traces are generated. For more information, check out that previous episode. So here's how aptX is calculated. We have a threshold, and any transactions with a response time below that threshold, this t value here, are considered satisfied transactions. Anything between that threshold and 4 times that threshold is considered something tolerated. And then anything over 4 times that threshold or an erroring transaction is considered a frustrating transaction. And the calculation that takes this all into account is down below here, where aptX is equal to the number of satisfied transactions plus the number of tolerated transactions divided by 2, all over the total number of transactions. So let's take a look at an example. We have a number of transactions response times here over on the left. This is assuming a threshold of 0.5, so 500 milliseconds. So with this, we have 7 satisfied transactions, 8 tolerated transactions, and 5 frustrated transactions. So plugging that into that equation, then we have 7 plus 8 over 2 divided by 20 as our total. And so obviously that looks like 7 plus 4 over 20, which is 11 over 20 equals 0.55. That is our aptX score. So how do we figure out what the right threshold is? Obviously 0.55 is a pretty bad score for aptX, so obviously 0.5 as a threshold is not ideal here. Well, we've done a lot of research in the past into how to calculate the right threshold, and there's a blog post that goes into great detail about why percentiles are a great way to target this. That blog post will be linked in the description below, but for now we're going to focus on this and we're going to say we want a target score of 0.9 or 90 here. So we're going to focus on the 80th percentile of our transaction response times, and we can just plug that in to an NRQL query. So let's jump over to the account here, and if we look at this aptX chart where we're using a threshold of 0.5, you can see that we are mostly in this blue space. This blue space is not ideal. That is sort of potentially hiding any potential problems in the application. We want our ideal score here to be 0.9. So by plugging our query into that same query that we saw from that chart and from that slide deck, we're looking at the 80th percentile here for our application over 24 hours. And this should give us an ideal threshold, in this case 0.207. Back here in this chart, if I change my threshold here to 0.207 and I run this query, then you can see that for the most part we are now at 0.9. Obviously we still have those spikes and those drops, but for the most part our aptX score here is 0.9. That is exactly where we wanted it. So using that percentile, we were able to customize what the threshold is. Now we can go and set this up in our APM application settings to be able to make this the threshold going forward. Thanks for watching, and check out the links in the description below for more.